My sibling banged the entrance so forcefully it broke the window, and the following memory I have was crimson gathering beneath my skull. The physician stated I was fortunate to regain consciousness, but upon awakening, I didn't notice worry on my guardian's expressions. I observed dread, and then my mother murmured, "Maria, you must erase the incident from your mind." For the benefit of all. Resting in that medical cot, I experienced agony, but the deeper wound was the disloyalty. My kin aimed to conceal the reality. Father bent near, tone icy, "Don't escalate this beyond necessary. You stumbled. That's the narrative you'll share." My gut churned. Stumbled. My sibling almost ended my life, and they expected deception from me. I requested my device. They claimed it vanished. My satchel, discarded. It all seemed orchestrated. Then the caregiver entered holding the scans, and her gaze narrated an alternate tale. She looked at me, then at my guardians, and uttered softly, "We must discuss." Privately, the space stiffened. My father's mandible tightened. My mother feigned a grin, and right then I grasped a horrifying truth. They weren't merely concealing a mishap. They were masking something far larger. And then the caregiver murmured words in my ear that chilled my veins. I clutched the linens as the caregiver drew near and stated, "Maria, these wounds, they don't resemble a tumble. Somebody struck you." Fiercely, my spirit plummeted. I recognized it. But prior to replying, my mother barked, "We'll manage it." Her timbre was piercing, nearly menacing. The caregiver disregarded her and passed me a creased note. "If assistance is required, dial this. Rely on no one." She departed silently, and my guardian's grins faded abruptly. Father growled through gritted enamel. "Whatever she conveyed, disregard it. Utter a syllable and you'll rue it." I yearned to yell, to declare my fearlessness, but then I recalled how they concealed my device. My sibling lingered in the nook, limbs folded. Grinning as if this were mere amusement, she eventually voiced, "Don't exaggerate, Maria, you're okay, okay?" My cranium pulsed, and I could still sense the metallic flavor. I squeezed my hands, sensing helplessness. That's when the physician arrived with the scans. He affixed them to the illuminator and gazed extensively before declaring this wasn't solely impact. Another element occurred here. My mother advanced swiftly. "Physician, no need to complicate matters." But he interrupted, his manner grave. "Mrs. Johnson, these findings, they indicate something unaccountable by mishap." The quietude in the space was oppressive. I could perceive my pulse. My guardians appeared as if they'd encountered a specter. And right then I understood they were more frightened than me. But for what reason? Then the physician uttered 6 phrases that caused my mother to crumple downward. The physician's timbre was firm, but his phrases cut the atmosphere like a knife. "These wounds align with a vehicular crash." My respiration halted. A vehicular crash? I hadn't approached a vehicle. I was in the family area when the pain fractured, when my sibling's fury propelled me to the ground. But if the scans displayed vehicular strike, then deception was afoot. Severely, mother's legs weakened as she clutched the seat for balance. Father's complexion blanched, his gaze shifting to my sibling as if he desired to choke her. "What? What do you mean, physician?" he faltered. The physician folded his limbs. "Maria exhibits inner contusions and breaks that arise only from intense velocity, like a rapid collision. Someone ought to clarify how." My sibling rigidified. Her arrogant smirk dissolved, supplanted by alarm. "That's untrue." She stumbled. The physician arched a brow, stumbled. Into a racing vehicle, his irony fueled the blaze. I observed my kin disintegrate, each instant exposing fissures I never perceived. Then it struck me. Why my guardians demanded my quiet. Why they pilfered my device. Why they viewed me as an issue rather than injured. This wasn't mishap. It was concealment. But concealing what? My father acted swiftly, snatching the scans from the illuminator and cramming them into his portfolio. "Enough," he snarled. "Maria, we're departing." I parted my lips to protest. But then my sibling muttered faintly words that iced my veins. "You weren't meant to revive." The space whirled, my heartbeat thundering. This wasn't regarding mishap. It was about muting me. Then the entrance exploded inward. A law enforcer entered alongside the caregiver who cautioned me. Her timbre was keen. "Officer, this is the individual I mentioned." Mother paled. "What is happening?" The law enforcer lifted a palm. "We received an unidentified tip concerning wrongdoing. We require her account." Father advanced. "She's unfit to converse. We're escorting her." The law enforcer's timbre was resolute. "Nobody departs until I converse with Maria." My gullet parched, but I compelled the phrases. I was in our family area when my sibling erupted. She banged the entrance and I falsehoods. My sibling shrieked, advancing. Her timbre fractured with fear. "She's fabricating." She tumbled. The law enforcer halted her. Then account for this. He gestured at the scans the physician had discreetly reclaimed from father's portfolio. These wounds don't align with tumbling. They align with rapid impact. So unless she tumbled onto a mobile vehicle within your residence, someone here deceives. The space descended into turmoil. My mother began weeping, imploring the law enforcer to permit family resolution. Father erupted. We're finished discussing. Maria's accompanying us. He extended for my limb, and that's when the law enforcer seized his forearm. Sir, if you contact her once more, I'll restrain you immediately. The strain was charged. Father rigidified, his veneer of dominance fracturing initially. And then the caregiver unleashed the true revelation. She approached nearer and stated, the unidentified tip included surveillance recording. From your driveway, my pulse ceased. Driveway, I hadn't ventured outdoors that evening, or so I believed. The law enforcer extracted his device and initiated playback. The recording loaded gradually, but upon activation my reality skewed. There I lay, immobile on the pavement beneath headlamp glow. My sibling occupied the driver's seat of mother's vehicle, her expression contorted in astonishment. And rearward in obscurity was father, gesturing wildly for her to reverse and haul me indoors. I couldn't inhale. My guardians weren't merely concealing mishap. They orchestrated all. My kin attempted to obscure that my sibling struck me with a vehicle. The law enforcer glanced upward from the display, his timbre subdued and firm. This isn't mishap. This is endeavor to slay. My sibling erupted in sobs, wailing. It was father's scheme. He insisted secrecy. My mother slapped a palm over her lips, yelling her name, but too tardy. The reality emerged. And as the law enforcer extended for restraints, father performed an unforgettable act. He dashed for the exit, but he advanced minimally. Two enforcers obstructed the passage. An investigator struck a dossier against his torso. Robert Johnson, you're detained for hindrance, proof alteration, and plotting. Father growled, you lack awareness of your adversary. The investigator secured the restraints. Amusing, that's their common refrain. Mother sank to her legs, wailing, while the law enforcer addressed my sibling. Amelia Johnson, you're detained for endeavor to slay. She collapsed, shrieking, I lacked intent. Father instructed me to frighten her, not too tardy. The ideal kin illusion fragmented instantly. I remained mute, my mind reeling. Mere hours prior, I deemed my primary issue enduring mishap. Now I comprehended the reality. My kin sought my demise due to desperation for secrecy. But which secrecy? The investigator seemingly perceived my thoughts because he stated, Maria, we possess grounds to think this exceeded you. Your father faces probe for enormous monetary deceit. The vehicle wasn't fury. It was to prevent your speech. My gut somersaulted. Abruptly, coherence emerged. Weeks earlier, father solicited my endorsement on business papers. I declined as they appeared dubious. That ignited it. They assumed my absence would resolve. As my guardians were escorted, mother pivoted toward me with cosmetics cascading her visage and murmured, you demolished us. I gazed directly and stated, no mother. You demolished yourselves the moment you selected avarice over kin. The medical space quieted, save for their shackles jingling as they vanished along the corridor. I sensed a droplet trace my face. Not for them, but for the youth I once was. The one who trusted kin equaled security, but I ceased being that youth. I was resilient and unfinished. With guardians absent and probes delving into father's realm, all possessions immobilized swiftly. Conjecture who the tribunal designated overseer of his holdings. Me. 2 months subsequently, I entered that tribunal with elevated chin. My guardians occupied cells. My sibling confronted lengthy incarceration. And me? I endorsed the documents granting me dominion over what they sought to annihilate me for. The journalists mobbed me externally, yelling inquiries. Maria, what plans for your father's wealth? I grinned, composed and firm, and stated I'll achieve what they never managed. Employ it to construct integrity. The lenses flared. And right then I experienced a sensation absent for years. Tranquility. Equity wasn't merely delivered. It was etched eternally. And as I departed, the burden elevated from my frame, because I ultimately comprehended. Kin isn't those sharing your lineage, it's those who would never spill it for self-preservation. They sought to mute me. They sought to inter me, but all they accomplished was sowing a germ. And now I'm invincible,